Well, hey there.
Minot talk.
We're back. It's another actually nice Tuesday out today. It was
beautiful.
It was pretty nice coming up here today. I was shocked. Snow's melting. What is this, March? No, it's still January.
Yeah, I hear we're able to start golfing next week.
Are you? The courses are going to be clear. They're going to plow off the greens just for you guys, kind of thing.
It's crazy. It'll all be melted.
Oh, it'll all be gone.
Yeah, it's supposed to be 70s and spring's here.
It's going to be beautiful. It is time.
Oh, that was Arizona.
Shoot. Whoops. Got our states.
My bad.
Got our states mixed up. It's still January. Yeah. It's still winter in North Dakota.
What the classic right now? Like when it gets cold right now, it's like, oh, it's colder here than it is in Antarctica.
Those are always the fun.
Even though Antarctica it's summer in Antarctica.
This is true. That's how the southern hemisphere works.
We're in the dead of winter. They're in their summer. We're like, yeah, it's colder here than it is in Antarctica. Okay, yeah, okay. Now let's compare our summer temperatures to their winter temperatures then.
Yeah, let's see how big of a gap that is there.
Yeah.
Also, not like their summers are warm either, though. Their summers are.
That's what I'm saying. Their summer right now is like 0 degrees.
Exactly. It is. It's not fun down there.
No,
I don't recommend it.
Yeah, from what I've heard,
it's not the nicest place.
No.
Crazy story, but yeah, we got some fun stuff on the agenda.
What do we got?
Now we're going to discuss a bunch of property tax stuff. Kelly Armstrong, our new governor, had some fun comments last week. We're going to kind of break down a little bit, and some meetings happened in Minot over the weekend that we can kind of discuss a little bit. It's going to be fun. But before we do, I got one thing. In Rob's podcast that you guys did, Alderman Rob Fuller, yeah.
What did I say bad?
You didn't say anything. Rob called me out.
Oh.
So I gotta respond, I suppose.
Okay, he wants to respond.
Well, it was,
all right, first off, why don't you guys just do a podcast together?
I'm ready.
All right.
I'm ready to get talk circles around from Rob. But regardless, so he made the point. Last Tuesday I made the hot take that Doge would fold like within a year effectively. He came back and said that he thinks Doge is going to dismantle our government.
Yeah.
That's not the best.
So you're going to feel good about this, aren't you?
Well, no, I want to say I agree, and well, not agree. I hope Rob's right. I hope that they make all the cuts that they can. I would love to see the Doge be the most. I would love to see Doge be the catalyst that gets the federal government onto a balanced budget again.
Right.
But I guess I'm cynical, and I just don't think it's going to happen.
So I heard that the chief of staff for President Trump said Musk
has to go through her now.
Yeah.
He doesn't get an office in the West Wing. I don't know. It feels like it's already starting. It just feels like it's going to be an advisory group. It is, and I don't deny it.
I think the whole time there was essentially an advisory group.
I don't disagree with that. I just feel like they gave it such credence and made it feel like it was going to have such.
It felt like it was going to directly cut stuff. No, it's going to have to come through executive orders, just like Hegseth has to get an executive order to get some of his stuff done.
For sure.
Still the process.
No, without a doubt. I hope it does more than I see it. See what's coming, and I hope Rob is closer to right than I am on this, but I still don't take it back.
They've already done a lot of work from what I've seen.
What have they done so far?
$240 million or something like that in cuts
that they've recommended.
That's an eighth of what their goal, right?
Give or take. Yeah, it was like $1.5 billion, I think, something like that.
$2 trillion
or two.
And I used the wrong word. I don't remember if it was the cuts were in the millions or the billions. If it's in the millions, then they haven't done 1/8 of their goal. But it was just through unused buildings,
making space a little bit more
people
efficient
and stuff like that.
Sure.
And now also there was a lot of people that got cut. That may not happen. The inspector generals.
Yeah, that was an interesting one over the weekend too. A lot of hairs got rolled.
That one wasn't Doge.
Yeah, that was Trump waking up saying, "Hey."
You think it was that's where I think people are wrong. I know it's a fun thing to say.
Well, I don't. I fully think it was a methodical and thought out thing on when they did it. I think everything they do was planned out.
I think Trump is more methodical than what people give credit for.
Oh no, I agree. I think part of the approach where he comes off as all over the place, is more. I think that's a plan, and that's part of the approach that they take is to give that appearance to make people think that he. Not saying he's not, can come off his rocker, for lack of a better term, at times, but I think they want people to think that it happens more than it actually does, when a lot of this is actually a lot more pre-planned out behind the scenes.
Do you know what happened in Colombia?
That was a mess, wasn't it?
I don't
Do you know
know
the story?
So I know the general, but I heard two different viewpoints on it.
From what I can tell, we had sent back a plane with refugees on it that were Colombian, and Trump ordered it directly.
Okay, you're calling them refugees. They weren't illegal immigrants?
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, no, they were illegal immigrants. Yeah, no,
Okay.
I shouldn't say potential refugees maybe, but yeah, they were illegal immigrants that
Okay.
had come over the border. Not denying that. Trump sent it back, and because normally apparently this is something that's done at lower diplomatic levels, because from what I can gather, because Trump decided to step in, Colombia said, no, we're not taking this back. Trump then proposed like a 25% all across the board tariff on everything through that we do in trade with Colombia. They then, from what I've gathered, effectively backed down almost immediately and allowed the planes to land.
Okay.
That's
so the part that, like, I heard that part. The part that I also heard was that somewhere along the lines, the Colombian president said, we'll take him on our presidential plane. Basically, they didn't want them coming in as
commercial kind of thing.
Because they were coming in on military planes.
Fair.
They weren't
Yeah,
coming on.
you're right,
They were fine with it beyond commercial. Supposedly, in the past, it has happened on commercial, and this time it was done on a military plane.
You're right.
And so they were upset about that. They didn't want them to seem like they were captive when they entered the country, and so they said, "We'll take them in on our presidential plane," and then. I'm not sure if they got taken in on the presidential plane or they got taken in on the military plane. I'm not sure who won that part.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that part played out.
That's my question on it.
We'll have to look into it, but I definitely
it's
didn't
be something very difficult to find that out.
I think so. Yeah, that'd be one of those such nuances that would be hard to kind of scrape together. But still, it's been
Very
an
good.
interesting weekend, without a doubt.
Some stuff going on in North Dakota, though, that's kind of affecting Minot, and Minot's kind of leading the way in it as well. And Fargo jumped into the fight on this one.
Yeah.
What happened there?
From what I can tell, Fargo's city commission decided to double down on what Minot did last week and also issue, I don't know if it was a statement or a letter, but some kind of initiative that says that their city leadership also opposes caps on property taxes.
Whoop, whoop.
Exactly. Right? And the surface seems pretty good, and I think we agree that this is the way
Generally,
to move.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think I've said that maybe there's a certain way where I could live with caps.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not excited for caps. I don't think caps are a good thing. But if it was part of a true reform, then maybe it would make sense at some point.
Mm-hmm. And again, if I think the just blanket 3% cap is one of those things that is...
Although I've heard that the way that 3% cap is, it rolls over for like
up to 5 years. Yeah.
So it can get you can have a 0% increase for 4 years and then get a 15% increase in your property taxes still.
Yeah, theoretically, at least that's how it sounds to me. I believe you're right with that. And my biggest issue with it, again, as I think we probably discussed, is it doesn't address the buy downs, and it takes away from the legacy fund in a way that excuse me, not the buy downs. It doesn't address the evaluations, and it takes away from the legacy fund that is effectively the same way as it's taking away from the general fund now.
Yeah. Well,
it's just transferring the buy downs from the general to the legacy fund.
You would have to have plans for the legacy fund in order for you to care about it taking money from the legacy fund. But
that's up to the state. This is
My point, my frustration with it though, is not where the money comes from. It's that all that's going on, and this is kind of what we're going to talk about probably, but all that's going on is the state is trying to say, hey, people of North Dakota, we love you so much. Here's a check back. Essentially, rather than going and giving a oil check to every North Dakotan that's a resident of the state, you get that if you own property. You get a check back that covers your property taxes that year from the oil money. Yeah. That's essentially what's going on.
Effectively, that's how it's played.
That's all that's happening. The property tax is not getting fixed.
No, that's the thing. And even if this bill does come to fruition and its best case scenario plays out where primary residences get bought down to 0% through the legacy fund in 10 years, I mean, it's great, but still, it's not. Now you're just taking away money from the legacy fund and from what it could be. You're in theory, by the way the plan goes, you're using those funds to continue building up the legacy fund, and the growth rates get higher and higher as oil and gas production grow, and also as their interest off of their investments come through. But I just don't think that it's the best you're not actually changing anything. It's just the source of it.
So WDAY had an interview with Armstrong
Last week, yep. After the Fargo commissioners came and spoke. I know one of their city commissioners, Dave Pepcorn, spoke, and apparently he's one of the more conservative members of the Fargo Commission. And he came, I know he went on the show and had his comments on it, and obviously Governor Armstrong responded.
And basically, one of those comments was essentially, if you're going to cap us, then go ahead and cap the state too.
Mm-hmm.
And so Armstrong addressed that comment.
Mm-hmm.
And his response was interesting.
Yeah.
His response was, I could cap the state. I could get rid of the money for the Fargo Airport for the Red River water supply. I could get rid of the challenge grants for NDSU. I could get rid of the extra money for the homeless problems that exist. We could do that. And then he goes on, and we'll read the rest of it, but I want to address that part of right there. His immediate response to go ahead and cap the state was, we could do that, but we would have to get rid of the extra projects that we do at the state level.
Mm-hmm.
And so in what world do people think that does not transfer down to the local municipality level too?
Mm-hmm.
If the state's first response to, we could cap the state, but we'd have to get rid of programs that help some of the cities in North Dakota, then if the cities get capped, they're going to have to get rid of extra programs as well.
At least, 100%. At least indirectly, they're going to have to start cutting some of these extra programs that they get funding through, or that they have to at least fund part of.
So basically, what the solution on the table does right now is caps the city, stops spending, and says the state can grow their budget as much as they want. If you want a new police station in Minot, then one of the things you're going to have to do is go through the state to get that money, potentially. Mm-hmm. That's what they're setting it up for.
Exactly. No, and you're right. So on one side, it would either be the city of Minot would have to add absolutely 0% property tax growth for 4 consecutive years to attempt to be able to build up that bank enough to attempt to get close enough to a
12%,
and then
15%.
one massive raise on property taxes, which everyone would probably be up in arms about. Yeah. And that would be in effect your only way to try to build the police department through internal funding. Otherwise, like you said, you now have to go to the state and beg for money to get this done.
Or you go and do sales tax and you find another. But again, I get the 0.5% sales tax, and that's its own conversation. But if your avenue of getting rid of property taxes for an entire city is through sales tax, I don't love the idea of having a 12, 15, 20% sales tax. I don't.
No, not at all. Not in Minot, North Dakota. That doesn't feel like it's sustainable or realistic.
And you can call me crazy for saying numbers so high, but you're going to have to get a very high sales tax to begin to fund all of the projects that are going on.
Exactly. And one other further thing that we can kind of touch on a little is just the income tax situation in the state of North Dakota. What's happened over the last 8 years over Burgum's 2 terms is his goal was to eliminate income taxes in the state, and now they've been reduced tenfold at this point. They're minute in comparison to where we get our other revenues from. So the flip side is, all of a sudden, are we going to start increasing income taxes in the state? And
I think that would be a stretch.
I'm not.
Yeah.
It would be massively unpopular.
Right.
I couldn't see anyone being on board with something like that, at least in the state of North Dakota, which is supposed to be, conservative small government kind of place. But
yeah. Gordy Greenston says should have passed Measure 4. So I wasn't a fan of Measure 4, but when you compare it to this solution, it's much better.
Yeah.
And then and I'll address why exactly I don't like this solution. I kind of already have, but I'll address it more specifically. Sherry says no caps either. Yes, should have passed M4. Yeah, no caps. But the rate of taxes, so if you go and change how taxes are calculated, okay, change the assessment value, and you do it based off square footage of some type, right? Because that's what's most talked about. Okay, but then you say no caps. You can still have outrageous property taxes.
100%.
Because they can say, well, the rate's going to be some high amount, and just there's still going to be high property taxes. That's the only reason why I'm open to, it wouldn't be a 3% cap. It would be higher than that. Mm-hmm. It would be more like probably a 5% cap, 5 to 6%, and then a carryover of maybe 4 years or something. but
and have some like inflationary basis in there too, or something.
Something. Basically, what it does is not to say if you want a new police station, you can still raise taxes and cover that, but you can't be out of this world crazy. You can't just forever raise property taxes.
Yeah, can't do what the city of Minot did from like 2017 to 21 or whatever, where it was
very aggressive.
Yeah,
and we don't know everything that went on, and people remind us of that, and that's fair. But it's just a very aggressive race.
Yeah, and don't deny that by any means, but just strictly on paper, looking at the bar graph,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason why would be open to caps, as long as there was an alternative metric used for calculating or assessing properties. Specifically, why I don't like this deal is because what Governor Armstrong is doing is very genius, perhaps. All he's trying to do right now is appeal to the people.
100%.
That is his simple goal. And it's so that way he can not get rid of property tax. He can put a Band-Aid over property tax, not reform property tax, not solve any problems with property taxes. Cities still can raise property taxes. There's no
legitimate major reform actually occurring here.
Yeah, and in 20 years, there could be a situation where, hey, the state doesn't have any money. Okay, now you have to pay. Okay, for property taxes again. We can't do this anymore. Okay, so there's no positive that's happening in that area, but the people of North Dakota get a check back if they own a property that covers their property tax.
And they get immediate relief. They see some relief happen year one. They see the number go down a little bit. So it's
all about the person. It's all about the constituent. It's not about bringing a better solution to North Dakota.
No, it is about appealing to the voters to get them seemingly what they want.
And then what you're going to hear, and hey, we're fans of Governor Armstrong, specifically me. I've said mostly positive things about him. But what you'll hear, if this passes in 9 months from now, you'll hear him saying, "It took me 1 month to go and get on day one, I put together a property tax plan and we solved it. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm working for the people of North Dakota." That's the message you're going to begin to hear, and it's not going to be true.
No, 100%. I agree with that, because they're already setting this up for a long-term messaging. They're already, if anything, getting ready for re-election. They're setting up the stage to say, "Hey, I came in and did what my 3 former predecessors could not do. I came in and reformed property taxes, and we didn't just do it; we did it on day one in the very first session." And while you can go ahead and argue that, you're getting something pushed through on this end, and it gives some immediate relief, it's not a true and legitimate reform.
It is not at all.
It doesn't offer anything for, like we've mentioned a plethora of times, with actually assessing the properties. It doesn't do anything to legitimately cap state spending versus local spending, and you're again just taking away from the local municipalities. Because that's the biggest thing is people, a lot of the I know we talked about this on Thursday, a lot of the comments you see on this is people saying, "Hey, it's the city trying to take back and spend more and not want to cut back and take control," but the people that are presenting these are some of the most conservative people on these boards and these councils. I mean, it's just it's crazy to me that that's kind of the narrative that you're starting to see pop up.
Yeah.
And one other thing that I did notice too, when I was looking through some of this, is Grand Forks came out in support of, or not directly, but more in support of Governor Armstrong's tax proposal.
That's crazy.
And it's not directly in it, but he's in support of caps. I know their mayor said it was necessary for real reform, something along those lines, and it forces municipalities to spend within their limits.
See, that's an unpopular take, because it feels like it's taking away local control. Perhaps something should happen at the state level too. But again, in the right circumstance, I'm not against the cap part. It's just crazy that we're going to go and literally cap cities so that way the state can pay for it, and the state can be all close to the people of North Dakota solving this problem when they did nothing.
No, completely so.
And the other thing with the caps is if you elect better people to your city council, then you don't have those problems.
You shouldn't have to worry about it at that point.
Right. So it goes back to this deal where people, and this is something that I don't understand, and I just legitimately don't understand. And my example is always Hoven, and term limits of, you have term limits pass this at such a high rate, and Hoven pass almost at the same high rate. And it's like, this makes no sense. And there was a couple of alternatives on the ballot that would have been people that would have been done a decent enough job.
Here's a flip side to this whole thing too. 6 years from now, when our state legislature is effectively entirely different, all of a sudden you're going to start looking at what if people want to use the legacy fund differently?
Right.
What if they have to? What if they have to? What if something hits? What if oil prices decline and we don't get as much revenue? What if there's some kind of global recession and our interest rates coming into the legacy fund isn't as high, and all of a sudden this buy down can't work?
Right.
Like there's a plethora of options to look out into the future of why this might not happen. And that's why spreading it out over a decade is part of the issue as well. It doesn't actually say, hey, we're fixing this now, we'll get to it eventually, and it should work, assuming that the legacy fund stays making as much, not just as much, but starts making more than it currently is as well.
Good news. Your teenage son won't have to pay property taxes. Bad news.
You still do.
Your grandma that owns her house will have to pay property taxes.
Yeah. On a fixed income, living off Social Security. Yep.
That's what we're looking at right now.
100%.
And I understand at some point you do have to do something for the next generation. Like they can't be
you can't keep pushing that buck down the road either.
But there is a solution out there that would fix something more in the now than what this is.
What solution is that?
Just reforming how property tax is calculated.
I wasn't sure if you had something specific there, but no, you're right on that. If they could just find a better way to assess the property values, that would be a huge and massive step in the right direction.
I want to hear more people speak up about what their thoughts on this. If you're fine with caps, that's great. I think that's one part of it, though. My big question is, are you fine just having a Band-Aid put on property taxes, or are you actually looking for reform on how it's done to maybe better keep the prices of property taxes down? Mm-hmm. Like that's the bigger question that I have with it. And I'd be interested in how people feel about that part specifically, not the caps, because the caps can be in any tax plan. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's fine.
100%.
But the bigger deal is, are we fine with the state just paying for our property taxes?
Yeah. Which they have been for how long at this point? Since 07, 08, something like that. It's been starting with the buy down. I think it's over to like $8 billion that the state has spent since they've started on buy downs in the state. And what's the difference between spending from the general fund and just transferring it to the legacy fund? Like what actually comes of that?
And Sherry, you mentioned even Fargo came out and support our Minot City Council. No caps too. It's natural that a city council wouldn't want caps. Mm-hmm. That would be a natural thing. And it would be natural that citizens would want caps. That's why it's so secondary to me. The biggest deal is, are we actually fine with a state credit from switching funds where the state credit comes from, being what our solution to property taxes is? That's a bigger question to me. Yeah. I'm not fine with that.
No, not at all. I want to see some real oomph come and some real change happen. Like I mean, we might have taken a little criticism from it at the start, but I know when we first saw this, I called it toothless, and you weren't a fan. Yeah, and I don't change my opinion at all at this point.
I don't get why the analogy that I think I'm going to run with on this whole situation is that, and I've already used it, but I don't get why we're going to charge somebody differently for the property taxes based off how nice their home is. Yeah. Essentially.
Yeah, no.
It doesn't. It's not that type of thing.
No.
Your income does not make a difference in how much property taxes you should pay. It's not that kind of thing. No, it should simply be you have this large of a house. This is the anticipated amount of city services that we use. Maybe you live in an area where there's a higher use of those services. Okay, so maybe there's a little rate that goes up on you or something. Like having some type of basis directly tied to that stuff would make sense. Mm-hmm. It would absolutely make sense. And the analogy that I already used is when you go and you walk into a restaurant, they don't ask you how much money you make. They just say, this is how much a steak is.
Exactly.
So that's the same principle that should apply. If you're living in a high-risk area, that however they would deem that, then maybe there's a special tax that they have to add to it, or a special rate that they have to add to it. I get that. But that high rate should not be tied to the home value. It should be tied to, hey, this area of town, we have a 20% increase in police calls or fire calls or whatever. Mm-hmm. So we're actually spending more resources in this area of town.
Yeah. No, something like that would make far more sense than the way it's currently structured.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that that's the solution either, specifically that, but I am saying that having an even
an even playing
fair
field.
Yeah.
Something that's a lot more easily definable, something that people can digest a lot easier, and something that doesn't feel as subjective across the board as your individual assessor making up the prices.
Right.
And making up might be a little loose at that point, but it's still effectively what happens.
Yeah, for sure.
And one other flip side of this whole thing too is, so on the same subject, not only, and obviously in North Dakota we expect conservative and lower people that aren't going to spend obnoxiously at our local city levels. However, that assumption, while it's pretty safe, might not be, across the board. What if they start trying to up fees, utility fees, different things of that nature? All of a sudden now they're trying to find different revenue, where say they like what Minot's doing. Obviously, again, this is a different story, but Minot with the 0.5% sales tax increase, say cities start trying to do that where they do full percent increases for just the city budget, and the citizens reject it but via referendum. So all of a sudden now what can the city do? Well, they can raise their rates, they can raise their fees, and that's about the extent of where it goes at that point. And who knows? That's way down in the future, but it's just another possibility of where this could come from.
Absolutely. Thanks, Gordy. We're going to go to a quick break. After that, we have some other things to talk about on the legislative side. Whatever. All right, here we go.
In the demanding world of oil and gas, precision, safety, and efficiency are non-negotiable. Unmanned operator drone services revolutionizes how you monitor, inspect, and manage your operations. With cutting-edge technology and expert operators, we deliver real-time data, detailed reports, and actionable insights for our valuable clients. Why risk the safety of your team or waste precious time? Our drones access even the most challenging areas with ease, reducing downtime and enhancing safety across your sites. We take the guesswork out of your projects by offering LiDAR, mapping, and inspection services so that your projects stay safe, on budget, and on time. Unmanned operator drone services, where technology meets safety, precision, and efficiency. Contact us today to elevate your operations. Yes, pun intended.
And I'm back. Unfortunately, Jonathan had to step away for a quick phone call, didn't see coming. But one thing, want to just kind of continue on the conversation we were going down. We were talking about state property taxes here in the state, and a lot with Governor Armstrong's comments and reaction to it. One thing I wanted to address a little further is on that quote of Governor Armstrong's. So to read it in full, it's, I could cap the state, I could get rid of money for the Fargo Airport for the Red River water supply, I could get rid of the challenge grants for NDSU, I could get rid of the extra money for the homeless problem that exists. We could do that. I think Dave Pepcorn's constituents would probably have a problem with that. We have to balance our budget every year. We could give social services funding back to the municipality. We could get rid of the 80% we pay for K through 12 education. I've learned a long time ago, probably not to take criticism from people I wouldn't take advice from. I just wanted to kind of go, I mean, maybe I'm taking a step where I shouldn't, but I just kind of wanted to go with a little of the scathingness that were in these remarks. It just felt like they were fairly, I mean, it felt a little hostile to me. Obviously, he's going up against directly defending his own proposal and plan at this stage, but I just feel like he's coming off very strongly against not only what is your most populous city, but also what is almost an eighth or seventh of the total North Dakota voting constituency. It's a massive step, but also on the flip side, it's also one of the most Democratic parts of the state. Obviously, Armstrong won Cass County still, so it's not like it's somewhere that's voting directly against him, but I just feel like this is one of those things where he maybe took it a step further than he needed to, because you can read those questions and they come a little,
we got ourselves a throwback.
Yeah, we're looking back at the voting lines here. My bad on that one. But no, just felt a little off kilter with Governor Armstrong's takes on that respect. Not 100% sure if that was the way. I guess if you can go and listen to it yourselves, you go pull it up, the comments, and it really feels like he's coming off as sarcastic and a little snarky. I don't know. Maybe I'm going a little too far on that one and nitpicking where I don't need to, but
I mean, this is probably what I would say about that is you love Governor Armstrong when he's using that tone. Maybe you don't, but in general people love that tone when he's talking about something that you agree with and you're passionate about. when it's against you, then it feels a little different. And I think that's a good thing to feel because it makes you more aware when he's using that tone and you're behind him. Makes you more aware of it.
No, that's a fair point.
But also, and I there was an ad that was done by back when the ads went crazy in political season by Lieutenant Governor Tammany Miller at the time, and it was basically talking about how Kelly Armstrong was taking his Washington tactics to North Dakota into the governor's race with the ads that he was doing. And it was like, that's actually a really good point, is that you have somebody that is still North Dakota nice. Governor 100%. Armstrong is great.
And he loves North Dakota.
He loves North Dakota.
No doubt about that.
But he has been to Washington, and he has felt the pressures that you feel there and the aggressiveness that you feel there. And everyone loves to go and check out the highlights from a good grilling by a Senate committee or a House committee, or they're just taking someone to town. And that's some of the stuff that he's had to use a lot over the past few years, and maybe he's going to have to tone down.
You know what that is? I'm not saying that's what he's doing, but what that generally is appealing to people's emotions.
Yeah.
You're not going based off of fact-based arguments. You're going to chase after people's emotions to get them to react the way you want them to in a situation.
Right. Gordy says first thing they need to do is fully fund public schools. I think the Constitution might have something to say about that as well. So probably wouldn't be I think this is a bad idea.
I think that's a great place to start, is get that under the state's purview a little bit more. Then you can really start finding out where your property taxes can get really switched around and adjusted from there.
What was epic, and I think you read it, but because in his statement he said we could get rid of the 80% we pay for K through 12 education.
Yeah, exactly.
And some were like, no, you can't, buddy.
Yeah, you put that all on the cities.
Yeah, put that all on the cities, but the Constitution wouldn't agree. I don't think.
I don't think at all.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing too, is you just look at, I don't know, it feels like because of the attack that was coming at his proposal, he had to double down on the defense of it. And I feel like that's what we saw. And for whatever reason, wherever it might come from, it is what it is.
And we would love to talk with him. We've reached out. Obviously right now is a busy time, but we'd love to talk to him about the plan more in depth and maybe even get more perspective on it.
100%.
It might help balance out some things.
It would be great to get that from them directly too. Actually hearing from the people that put the proposal together on why they think this is legitimate reform and not just adjusting the buy downs.
So let's talk about something Minot.
Yes, let's do it.
North Dakota State Fair lineup. Who is it?
I know Jelly Roll was just announced as one of the acts, and the first opening night, it was another country artist.
Bailey Zimmerman.
There you go.
Yep. They don't have all of them out, right?
No, I think that's the only two.
No,
so
they got
far.
more than that.
Is there 3?
I think they have more than that. I'm pulling it up right now. I jumped in there a little bit fast.
No, you're good. I know for sure they announced Bailey Zimmerman. That was the first one. Then I saw Jelly Roll was announced again. Yeah, that's you're taking my soon-to-be hot take into consideration with that.
We don't even have to talk about your hot take.
No, but that's a little preview of where that's going to go. And I'm not sure if they have that third one.
Who do you want
to come to the fair?
Yeah,
my people aren't gonna. I don't think anyone I'd want to see come to the fair would be like a very popular choice.
Oh no, you have a weird taste in music?
My music taste isn't in line with. I would like, my music taste would be in line from like who was at the fair like 30 years ago.
Oh, wow.
That would be,
I bet people saw that coming though.
I bet they did if they paid attention. They they could have pieced that one together to a fair degree.
You might be right, but I think there's a lead on who one of the other people might be.
Some rumors and speculation coming to be come state fair time this summer, which I know they were talking about. Here's one thing. So to segue a little bit too. Minot had a recent special city council meeting on Friday, and it was discussing some of the legislative issues with Shane Gettle, who's a consultant that is on behalf of Minot down at the state. I think there's more to it than that, but regardless, on the surface. And one thing they talked about was new funding for the state fair that requires a bill. And there's an increase in funding so they can build a public bathroom in the parking lot.
Oh, interesting.
In the massive state fair parking lot, I saw there was, I think it was like $1.5 million that they put aside, and they're going to start building that new, I don't know if it's going to start this summer or for next year, but there's going to be a new bathroom in the parking lot. I feel like that's a good move. That parking lot gets massive, and you start at night when it gets late after those concerts, it can get a little hairy out. I know, but there's like some random porta potties spread throughout, but outside of that, there's not a ton of options. And
potentially on Saturday night, it'd be Ian Munsick.
Do you know who that is?
No.
I don't either.
and who knows if it is, because what people are doing
is rumor. Yeah.
They're trying to go and take the board picture that they show on their grid and match them with photos.
Okay.
But some person...
Man, the internet sleuths.
Oh, yes. You got to love it. But somebody said it could be inaccurate because they didn't feel like Jelly Rolls matched up. So who knows?
See what happens.
Jelly Roll didn't match up at all.
There's a fair chance. Yeah, there's a fair chance they might not even have some of them finalized at this point yet either.
Right.
And they're waiting for people to still announce and settle tour dates and stuff. Yeah.
But if you look at the grid, like there's some of them that look defined and other ones look like maybe they don't even know who it is yet.
Just a pure yellow, blue, and red blur in the background.
Right. So that's epic.
No doubt.
We'll be
we'll keep updates on that. It's one of the big things in Minot, obviously, is the state fair. So whenever something pops up there, we will definitely be around and yap about it. Can never go wrong with that.
All right, what do you got, man?
One other thing from that legislative session. First off, there's two things, I guess. Or not the legislative session, Minot City Council talking about legislative session. So very in the nitty gritty. One thing was Alderman Mike Blessum kind of clarified the letter. Apparently some people thought that this was Minot saying that they would just outright refuse to listen to the state if they changed the caps.
That would be neat.
That would have been wild.
Crazy.
Yeah, that would
have been lawsuits.
Remember when
for sure.
What was it? Seattle had like a couple blocks in their downtown during like the pandemic, just like section themselves off and declare autonomy.
Yeah. All right, now we're going to a whole another level right there.
But that's the level of what people are saying that it could be, apparently. And I just find that is outrageous. And Blessum just commented, too. He said, I hope you can understand there was no action taken by the city of Minot that contemplated whatsoever that we would not follow the law should it become law. That has become a little of a scuttlebutt down there, and that was not all contemplated at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I think good clarification made there. Definitely felt necessary.
Right.
Then when they were kind of going through bills, most of it was stuff that, I mean, we've talked about. It's not like that interesting, or it's stuff that has already been discussed at some level. But one that I saw them talking about that I thought was very interesting was HB 1297. And what it does is it is a way to attempt to take voting across the state and make it a little bit more efficient and even. So if it's saying that every municipality in the state has to comply with state voting laws, which is fair, and they should probably all be the same. It's probably easy to tally votes that way. However, it did a couple things that I don't like. It wants to, not just disavow or anything, but ban ranked choice voting. And
you love this.
I'm not a fan personally, because obviously if you've listened to me, you know I don't love banning things in general, but it also,
it's because you're a lib.
I don't know about I'm a lib. Yeah, you betcha. That's not nice. That also takes away
my new favorite line.
Yeah, approval voting, and I think Fargo uses that to a certain degree, but I just don't like the fact that it's banning these things. So
why don't you like that?
Well, if there were to be a ballot initiative from the citizens of North Dakota, I feel like this would invalidate it before it could even get off the ground.
Yeah,
because this is now banning it at a core level.
Isn't that because you're a lib?
I feel like it's the government stepping in to say that because we don't like this and we don't agree with the way this is set up, we don't want it to happen in our state.
Are you a Republican or I understand you're going to go with independent.
I consider myself a Republican in today's
more than a libertarian.
I don't vote for libertarians.
I don't think you have to vote for a libertarian to be a libertarian.
I know my tendencies and leanings are certainly in the libertarian spectrum.
Yeah, so you're a lib.
In that definition of it, yes. But
which is which
I consider myself.
I know it's crazy, but I was thinking about that the other day. I'm like, that's the best line ever because it really irritates a libertarian to be called a lib.
Exactly. Yeah, you think you're getting called liberal, but no, I knew where you were going with that earlier too. But regardless, I know.
I felt I should clarify. I'm not making fun of liberals.
Oh well, no, not right now at least.
Hey, come on.
No.
I try to be nice.
No,
I'm Switzerland over here.
You are the Switzerland. I don't know. Do I make fun of everyone?
I don't know. Anyways.
I'm making fun of the government for trying to ban ranked choice voting because I think this could be a very effective way of getting the best candidate out there.
Okay.
So in places like North Dakota, where we're dominated by a supermajority, ranked choice voting effectively eliminates primaries and it takes it right to the general. So you would just vote. So say there are 4 candidates running for governor of North Dakota.
Alaska has this, and it's a mess.
It's a mess so far. I don't know if it's that bad of a mess. It's worked so far. It takes them longer than it should to count the votes. I think it needs to be more efficient. I'll agree with that.
But okay. So we say that, and it should be okay. I don't know what their voting process is, but let's not forget, dude. It's Alaska.
Yeah.
People think North Dakota's slow. No. Alaska, I'm not making fun of Alaska right now. It's a huge state.
Yeah.
And some of those places, you got to fly in to get there.
Yeah.
Like, it's got to be a process to get them votes counted.
100%. Just on a regular basis, just generally speaking, let alone you add an extra nuance into it like ranked choice voting. But so on a further level from that, the big argument with it was that, Alaska's a Republican state and it's pretty well dominated by it. But when it first got initiated in 2022...
Not in the Senate, but anyways.
Well, yeah. I mean, their senators are both Republican.
Oh, really? In name only.
Yeah, well, yeah, there you go. That's fair. But so when it was first initiated in Alaska in 2022, that fall they had 2 different Republicans running for the House of Representatives. They had former governor, well-known Sarah Palin. Then they had another gentleman who was endorsed by the state party effectively. And then they had Mary Peltola, the Democrat. And there was a couple independents in there as well. So they had like 5-6 people on the ballot. And you get to the ranked choice voting aspect of it. You rank in numerical order how you would like to see the people win. And that's taken and tallied. And by the way it's worked, Mary Peltola, the Democrat, ended up getting the most votes because of how it was split. But now you fast forward 2 years to 2024 when you have a 1v1 race. Even though she's the incumbent now, she ended up losing to a Republican.
Yeah, because it's a 1v1 race.
Exactly.
That's the part that's so
I think
weird.
there might have been 3 total. They might have had like a libertarian or something. But regardless,
yeah.
it was 2 main people running against each other.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden now you bring it down to that. When you have multiple people running, you could have a chance.
So basically, you're saying if we could get ranked choice in North Dakota, you're not saying this, but this is where you're leading to. If we could get ranked choice in North Dakota, then it might get rid of the supermajority.
It would make the supermajority have to be more efficient in order to protect themselves.
The only thing is that essentially we had that with when Hoven, Becker, and Christensen all ran.
Yeah.
And Hoven still won in a landslide.
By a massive, massive amount. He still won over 50% of the vote.
So you'd have to get 2 very, very popular people.
Yeah, you would, and that's the thing. And I'm not even advocating that.
And Becker is some.
He has
would say
a strong base.
Yeah, many would say he is popular.
And I'm not even advocating for ranked choice voting in North Dakota. Right. Maybe it's not the best thing. Again, I'm just saying that it should always be kept open as an option for the citizens of North Dakota to be able to get, rather than the state banning
Not banning it.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting. What about this one? Marie Stewart brought it up. House Bill number 1458.
Tell me a little about it.
Yeah. You don't know them all by number?
I know. It's crazy. Yeah. I don't know all 990 proposed bills that have gone through the state legislature.
I thought you were like following the legislature
I'm
this time.
trying, but goodness gracious.
Man.
I know. I'm not doing my job.
A bill for an act to create and enact a new section to Chapter 23-12 of the North Dakota Century Code. And this is where it gets good now. Relating to releasing a self-spreading virus and to provide a penalty. This is the first that we've... Marie, thanks for bringing this up.
Yeah, thank you for this. This is a fantastic... Wait.
Yeah. So releasing a self-spreading virus, written consent required. As used in this section, release means any act that results in the actual or potential infection or transmission of or exposure to a self-spreading virus or bacteria. Self-spreading virus or bacteria means in any engineered virus or bacteria, including any... Man, this is going to be a word I'm going to butcher. Recombinant or attenuated or modified version of any virus or bacteria or particles or substance similar to any virus or bacteria capable of spreading from individual to individual.
So is this saying that this is making it illegal for someone to manufacture and spread a virus in the state of North Dakota?
Yeah. Well, manufacture. Yeah. It's not just going to work sick. It's actually manufacturing the virus and then spreading it. So basically this is, in my opinion, clearly coming at the 2020 virus.
Sure.
And saying if that was to happen in North Dakota, you're going to get in trouble for doing that.
Which I think that's reasonable by all means. I
didn't see that happening.
I don't disagree with what it's doing by any stretch. I feel like it's wild that needs to have a caveat to be its own thing, that if you manufacture a virus and spread it intentionally, that it should be illegal. I mean, I guess good on them for including that in there. It should be. Right. But I wasn't ready for that.
That's one you're going to have to listen to the hearings on, man.
I might have to. I might have to actually listen to that. See what would someone that argues against it say?
There's no hearings on it yet.
Okay, fair. Is there anything? Has anyone submitted any?
It was submitted on the 16th. No.
Okay, fair.
It was introduced on the 16th.
That's a trip there. I wasn't ready for that.
No, thanks for the lead on that one, Murray. We will follow that one.
I don't know.
I could see that being very important. Obviously, in the day and age that we're living in, COVID aside.
Just generally with the ability of what humans have today.
Yeah, that there should be a specific note that you can't do that in North Dakota.
It's fair. I don't disagree with that whatsoever.
Yeah. That's not because I know that COVID would be a whole debate in that, and that's probably going to be the biggest struggle, is tracking, like if there's actually nefarious stuff going on, tracking it back to saying, hey, you actually created that.
This came from some buckaroo's basement down in Max, and he let this go intentionally.
Right, and I would suppose you could probably even create it in Texas and bring it up here and still get in trouble.
Yeah, hypothetically, by all means. Yeah. So, gosh, what a mess that could. I mean, it's good. Again, I think that's good on the surface, but I was not ready for that one.
It's crazy, man.
That is
crazy.
One other, and then again, just to piggyback off of the legislative discussions in Minot on Saturday, our state legislators from the area actually came and spoke. I didn't get to attend it. I was working, but I read Mr. Charles Crane's article on it from the Minot Daily News.
Go Charles Crane.
He did a great job with it, I think. One thing that was a little interesting to me was that there are, again, I mentioned this briefly a second ago, there are 990 bills that have been introduced in the state legislature.
That makes you happy.
I am elated.
You were kind of worried that this is going to be a boring session, I think.
And I guess 990 isn't boring. It's just, it's overload.
I don't think you're worried about it being boring.
No. This is, again, boring is a relative term. This is all exciting to me.
Still boring.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
990 bills of boring.
Exactly. It feels like it's excessive, but I do appreciate that our state legislators come back to town to try to defend not what they're doing, but to explain why they're doing it as well.
That part is good.
I think that's great. I think it's great to have that engagement. I want to continue seeing it, and I plan to go to one of them before it's over. But wasn't this one, won't be the next one, I don't believe. But do look forward to, if you want to check out the details of that, Minot Daily, Charles Crane wrote a great article on it summarizing it all. But
Indie Competitor Shooter says, ranked choice voting sounds like a terrible idea. Forcing someone to give any points to candidates they hate that may help them get elected does not represent voter choice.
Which is fair. That's a good argument against it. And I'm not even. I
know that you love it. I'm just creating hatred against you, Kylie.
I like the idea of it, but I've never advocated for it to be in North Dakota.
I don't know that he loves it. I'm just giving.
I like the idea of it. I do, but that's a great argument because you can. All of a sudden you can pump a ton of money into this one third person's thing that come out of nowhere, and they can be backed by whoever it is, and all of a sudden, because they have this amount of financial backing, they're able to get a whole lot more of a momentum rolling into the election, and they end up winning, and then they're terrible. And that's certain, but again, that's not like it can't happen in plurality voting like we have now. Yep. But again, my biggest issue with that is the fact that the state is trying to just outright ban it. I don't like that they're doing that.
That's what it comes down to, is the banning of it. KMOT Ag Expo going on this weekend. You're going to be there?
I might. It's going on for most of this week.
If you see Kyler, make sure you stop him and do whatever you can to embarrass him.
I will be, just you stopping me saying that you watch this, I will be alarmed. But I will...
No, tell him you stop him and tell him you don't watch it.
I don't know how I'd react at that point. I'd probably
like,
blush.
Yeah, I don't watch your live stream, Kyler.
They just, then I'll try to rack my brain for who you are.
Right, yep.
Like, I'll play along, like, I know who you are. I don't have a clue. Just one of those things.
Marie says, I think that House bill that we were talking about is more aimed at government and military using advanced weapons tech.
Yeah, it could be some biowarfare stuff. That's nasty. Gosh, I hope North Dakota doesn't have any like biowarfare manufacturing going on that we don't know about.
Would bring a whole nother level of questions.
Yeah.
So KMT Ag Expo, you got a hot take, man.
I do. So we were talking about it a little bit earlier. We were, talking about the state fair, and you mentioned Jelly Rolls coming back.
Jelly Roll
came for the first time in 2023, which 2023 is it was the busiest year for the state fair on record. I believe that with Jelly Roll coming, because, when he first came, this was just at the outset of his really getting to the peak of
it was like Minot got lucky because they booked him and then he became popular.
And then that spring after it was announced, he's won like half the Grammys he could have, and he became huge. Everyone has a feature with him out there, and he's massive. So my hot take, and this might not even be a hot take, but Jelly Roll coming back to the state fair, not just will that day break attendance record, but this 2025 state fair will be the most attended state fair on record. We will have over, I think it's like 350, like 5,000 was 2023. I say we'll have well over 360, 375,000 attendees.
The entire state fair.
Yep. I think that will be the caveat and the catalyst to putting the state fair into record-breaking numbers.
And then does Fargo get it?
I hope not. They better not, just because they're... Where would it go? We're going to put it out in West Fargo off the interstate? Build some big old thing? Make it a whole ordeal?
I'm sure they have an idea.
I bet they do, but I don't like it.
He doesn't like it.
I don't even know it, but I don't like it.
That's his hot take.
Do you have one?
I need one.
You don't have to.
I need one.
Do you have one in mind?
I'm terrible at these hot takes.
I thought of this morning.
Well done.
You're
well
good.
Done. Good job, man. Good job.
But
I do not have a good hot take today. I was trying to rack my brain to come up with a one. You know what? I'll go with this. I'll go with sports.
Sports.
First hot take. The Chiefs in their win, it was not rigged.
On Sunday?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's fair. Is that...
that everyone says that it's rigged.
I know they do.
Everyone says it's rigged.
All of the voices say it's rigged. Do people actually think it's rigged, or do they just like to call out and say it's rigged? And make
when you become great, you automatically get it. Now, Patriots, they got themselves some calls in the day.
It's true.
And I don't know why that happens. And I understand. Then it goes to, it's because it's rigged.
And
I mean, maybe it is.
Could be.
People are saying that the TGL, that indoor golf thing that Tiger and Rory are doing.
Yeah. Yep. That Live Golf or whatever. Or
not Live.
No.
They have TGL.
The indoor one. Yeah,
it's
you're
TGL.
right. I remember seeing that. No.
Right. That, I guess, apparently last night it was a good competitive match, and it hasn't been that way, and the rules and everything is different there. And they're like, yeah, it's rigged now. They needed views. Like, that's the first place people go. It's rigged.
Of course. Yeah, no, that is the first place people go, though.
But I don't think the Chiefs are going to get the 3-peat.
You don't. I think this is the spicier of your hot takes, is that they lose to the Eagles.
They lose to the Eagles.
Does Kelsey still propose to Taylor Swift on the field afterwards?
I think right now, I don't know what Saquon did.
Guy's on another level.
Or if it was just the fact, unmanned operator, it's all about ratings. The more Swifties, the better the ratings.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
All right, buddy. Well, then why can't it like Taylor Swift and like Josh Allen get together then?
Because he went for Haley Steinfeld.
Okay, so why can't she be more popular?
I agree. I think her music's better than Taylor
I
Swift's.
have no idea if it is or not. But we just need Josh Allen to get himself into the Super Bowl.
Just once. Just one
But
time.
anyways, I think Saquon, I don't know what happened last offseason, but that dude is a beast right now.
Yeah, he's been on a tear this year.
But then they were saying that even the backup running back did well. So I don't know.
I mean, the Eagles have a great offensive line. That's
Yeah.
one of the big things. It is a
Right.
phenomenal O-line. Barkley stayed healthy this whole year, and he's
Yeah, he
really
did.
been able to show what
Dude,
we've been missing the
guy
last
is
couple of
beast
years.
mode right now. Just his stats are just video game.
It
I
is.
bet you his stats are better than what your nephew has on his his video games.
Yeah, for his running back, yeah, because they don't ever run. They
That's
just
why I
throw
said
every
that,
time,
yeah.
and it works.
It wasn't. It seemed like I saw a stat where this was the first time in the last, or the second time in the last 6 games that Jalen Hurts threw for more than 200 yards or something like that.
Yeah, that's a because they had what, like 9 or 7 rushing touchdowns in the game against Washington.
They said, I saw a stat that said that they had more rushing touchdowns in that game than the Cowboys had all season.
The Vikings only had 9. Like, they were right on the Vikings' tail. Vikings won 14 games.
Oh, that's crazy.
It's ridiculous. Like, you got to get a run.
That's why they couldn't win in the playoffs.
Exactly. That's a very big point.
Right.
You just have Sam Darnold sitting in the pocket for 4 seconds, looking downfield, getting sacked. If you were
because
able to run a little bit, this
4
would be
seconds is a long time.
It is, yeah. No, in context, 2.5 seconds is like where it should be. 3 seconds is starting to push it. You get past that, it's fair
Isn't
game.
that crazy?
It is.
That crazy. And then people were saying on Twitter, people were ripping Josh Allen for his decision making. And it's like, dude, he had like 1.5 seconds.
Like, what do you want?
Yeah.
A couple of those blitz that the Chiefs lined up against him late in the game were just devastating. Yeah.
Who knows? Well, those are, I guess that's my series of hot takes.
To wrap up for the week, there's a chance we might not be here Thursday.
Oh, no.
I know you're not going to be.
I'm not going to be here.
I'm not sure if we'll have it yet or not. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Well,
We'll find out Thursday
guarantees.
morning.
Yeah, worst case.
We'll be back next Tuesday.
For sure.
Yeah, well, if all goes well in the world.
I look for, gosh, if we're still here.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
I think they increased the doomsday. Doomsday people are like
the clock down count took another like
a few seconds.
Yeah. Well, if we are still here and you're still here and you're still listening this way through, thank you. Make sure you give us a comment, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, hit the bell for notifications, and make sure you have a great week.
We'll see you next time.